I was born into a broken republic. No walls, no weapons, and barely any food. The Saurus Republic, if you would even call it that, was 6 people standing around a river in a shack. I was 1 year old and already knew we wouldn't survive like this. I quickly learned if I wanted anything, I would have to get it myself. So I tried to craft myself a stone spear, but I needed a tier 2. That's when it hit me. This village really had nothing in it at all. So I took it upon myself to improve this village. My own leader wasn't any help. He was overwhelmed by all his children and this unexpected nomad that appeared. He started to ask where our clan was, but little did he know he was standing right in it. I don't blame him for not recognizing it. We ended up taking him in. He was 7'4" and I was only 3'2". I asked how he got that tall, but he said it was his father, who passed away, so I felt kinda bad and walked away. I decided I was old enough to make my first journey, because I really needed that tier 2 workbench. So a castle caught my eye, and there were 2 brothers inside. I wasn't sure what I walked into, so I said hello, but they didn't react at first, so I walked by them, trying to get to that workbench. It seemed like they were friendly, but I was still a little scared, especially when he pulled out his great club. They didn't want to fight me, luckily, so I made my spear and I was ready to leave. But I was still a little curious about why he was here, so I asked if it was his home, and it was his old kingdom from his father. It seemed pretty empty, so I could only imagine what happened to cause its demise. I decided I'd invite them to my village, and his brother was starving. I realized this and tried to go grab some corn for him. I walked over and luckily his brother fed him, so he didn't die. I was getting kind of bored, so I was ready to head back. I told them I was gonna leave, and they surprisingly said they would follow me. I led them back to our base, if you would even call it that. For some reason, as soon as I brought them back, all the kids in our base started to mug them, and they were begging for resources. Even though we had none ourselves, they thought we would intimidate them. I was really confused, but luckily the leader stepped in and told all the kids to settle down. I went out hunting after that so I could go get some bones. While I was out killing cows, I had my first kid. I was only 15. I told them the direction of our home so they could head back, and they grabbed a log. That was the last I ever saw of them. So after that happened, I just went back to go getting bones. And that's when I found a tier 2 building plan, and I had a kid when I was about to craft it. I picked up the kid and I started walking back to base with the building plan out in my hand. When I got home, I threw the kid on the floor and put down the tier 2 building plan. The first thing I made with it was a windmill because I knew we were low on food all the time, and this was a really big advancement in our clan. Now that we had a tier 2 crafting table, I made myself some bone armor, and the leader of Vinland came up to me and said he's laying eggs here now. I didn't think much of it at the time, but make sure to remember Vinland. But at least the windmill was done being built, and we finally had bread. So I went right back to building and tried to put down some walls. I let the leader know it wouldn't let me put a wall here, and he told me he was proud of me for everything I've done for the village. I said thank you, and he surprisingly told me I'd be leader next. But he was my age and he called me daughter, but that doesn't matter. I went right back to building, and that's when I noticed I became leader, and I didn't even know. But a fight broke out between one of the brothers from the castle and a barbarian that was in our base, so I tried to join him to kill him, but it was too late. He already killed one of the brothers, and a nomad who seemed to be with the barbarian started attacking me, because I was the leader now, and there was a big target on my back. I knew I couldn't die here, because if I died, this village would never get finished. Luckily, one of my own people stepped in to protect me, but unfortunately, he died helping me. Luckily, I got the final hit. I looted the armor and moved on. After that, I went back into build mode to finish up some more walls. A kid from Vinland showed up into our base, and he asked if we were friendly. I said yes, of course. I mean, how could I say no with all of them already here? We were outmatched in numbers, and they were way stronger. I didn't want to provoke anything. I did put down a town hall, though, and I couldn't see anyone else from the Saurus Republic. It was all Vinland for some reason. I decided to ignore it for now, and I left the base to go get wood. I started to build a wagon so I'd be able to carry more logs. I would need about 20 logs to finish all the walls I set up around the base. I had a couple of kids when I was out log gathering, and I didn't expect them to follow me, but they surprisingly did. Each one of them carried a log back with them. It was kind of beautiful. We finished building the wagon, all thanks to the kids. When I made it back home, the old leader of Saurus reincarnated again. Now he's one of my kids. He remembered everything. I just told him to go get some wood, but just make sure to remember him. I left the base to go get some resources with my new wagon, and I got a bunch of wood. Unfortunately, I was cut short by having another kid, and I had to go drop them off at home. But when I got back, I saw Vinland members. They were arguing and fighting. Their leader was on our base, and I was holding one of my newborns. I had no idea what was going on, so I kind of ignored it for now. A member from Vinland started to mock my height. I was a little worried he might kill me over it, so I tried to change the subject and plant some trees. They all followed me though, and they started to surround me. I was getting really scared at this point, so I just kept planting trees, hoping they would leave me alone. But that's when they called one of my kids too short, and they started swinging at him. It seemed like the two other members of Vinland were trying to stop him, but luckily my kid wasn't stupid, and he managed to evade the tall man by using his height to his advantage. Eventually, the one member managed to settle them all down, and they made a deal with us. They would let us live if we all worked together, and that's what I preferred anyway, so it worked out. For a couple of minutes, everyone was really peaceful, and we all worked together to build some walls. I left the base to go get some more rocks to finish up the stone towers I built. Climbing up the tower really gave me hope for how big I could make the city, so I worked on some more walls and got a lot done. I also made an announcement to tell people to bring food back to base so we can grow, but didn't seem like anyone listened, so I went out to get my own food. I was forced to become a farmer because it seemed like no one else in my clan was being productive, so I just kept working. While I left the windmill, I bumped into a member from Vinland, and he said hi to me. And of course he flexed his height on me as usual, but what was weird is some guy behind me sniffed me, and I thought it was pretty weird. But luckily the other member from Vinland kept him in line, and I got back to building my walls. One of my kids kept spamming a war horn, and I couldn't tell if he was joking, so I kind of ignored him at first. But then someone told me to announce the barbarians outside, and it turned out to be real. I felt really dumb and out of the loop. I couldn't even keep track of my own tribe anymore, and my little mistake could have destroyed our entire village if I didn't announce anything. Now that I knew there's a threat, I set up the rest of the wall, and I made sure to get rid of any gaps in the wall too. I looked around and noticed that there were barely any Saurus Republic members left, and we were the minority now. But it doesn't matter anyway. I still had a really nice village, and I wanted to protect it. When I got back to town, that's when I turned 67, and some little Vinland kid pointed it out. That reincarnated kid got reincarnated again and told me there was a traitor in our group. I was a little confused because I didn't see any Saurus members within the last 10 years. So I made sure to follow him wherever he would take me, and he led me across 2 rivers. He brought me to some empty house, and we couldn't find the traitor. I guess they got away, and I was asking him why our faction was over here. All he said was delete it, destroy, and he's too young without any food. I was so confused because I built this amazing town for my empire to live in, and they were living in a shack. I didn't get it, so I just walked back. I spent my entire life building this town, and they wouldn't even want to live in it? Fortunately though, when I got back, I had twins, and I finished the lookout tower. A member from Saurus came across the rivers to join us, and I finally felt content with our village. There was finally no Vinland in sight, and I just assumed they went home, but little did I know what happened. I was busy farming to get food for all these new kids, and I zoomed out admiring my nice town. It was essentially complete. It was peaceful and quiet. I was standing near the open front gate, just browsing what I could craft, and that's when Vinland stormed in. One of them swung at me, and I barely escaped the menu in time. I ran towards the back gate hoping I could escape them, but they were right on my tail. If I made one mistake, I would die instantly. But I ended up getting stuck, and I couldn't squeeze through. I ended up dying. I didn't die in battle. I didn't die of hunger. I died because I trusted the wrong people and left the gates open. That was my life in Civilization survival game. If you're interested in being in the next video, make sure to join the Discord server. And as always, if you want more, make sure to subscribe.